Explain Novemberary. Hey, can you hear me talking? Are the levels okay? I'm using my webcam mic. I should probably mute the speakers so it's not coming in through that. Loud and clear patch is quiet. Oh, that's because it was coming through the speakers. Let me fix that. Mic check 1 2. How we doing? Appreciate the feedback. Just gonna let it play through another time before I start muting things and explaining what's going on. A little bit more mic, less synth. That should be it. Thank you. I'm excited to break it down. Hopefully I don't ramble too much. I'm gonna let the bass drop out and then start to turn stuff off and then get into explaining. Oh, you can even read my PAM screen. That's amazing. Alright, so this patch started life as a note from back in like January. Actually, I'm gonna stop it. Oh yeah, you're still going. I'm gonna turn YouTube off. Okay, so this patch started life as a note that I found from back in January. The note says 4 quarter note random sequence followed by 4 notes of rest. Into Typhoon. Freeze goes high on second bar when rest. Position scrubs in reverse? Question mark. So yeah, that's what I started with. So the main thing of this patch is plates playing the 4 notes, of course in rings mode, into clouds because that's the law. I don't make the rules, I just follow them. And yeah, so I'll start. Most of this is being sequenced by Pam, so I'll start there and kind of go through the patch. Let me get you on the other screen so I can see if the chat says anything. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Get those sweet chords. Okay, so channel 8 is doing 1x, so this whole thing is at 110 BPM. And it's doing 1x, and if we look at it, we have Euclidean sequence, 4 steps, 4 triggers, and then a pad of 4. So it's going to do those 4 quarter notes, and then rest for 4 quarter notes, just like I said in my patch note. And so that is coming out of channel 8, and it is going a few places, but for now we'll follow it over to the trigger of Beehive. As I said, that's in rings mode, going out of that into the Typhoon, excuse me, which is, you can kind of see it there. And about 40% wet dry, some reverb, density is up, size is up, texture is down, and the positions all the way down. So it's like right at the start of the head, I think. I can't fully remember. Right at the start of the buffer. Anyway, so yeah, so that does the 4 things, and also this is stack cabled to go into my first of 3 ornament crimes. And so that just plays random notes using the Prob Melody applet, and which has it looks like C, E, G, F, A, B. Basically everything except for D in a C major chord has some weight to it. Yes, need more crimes, less ornaments, more crime. Yeah, so that's going to play, and it's just shy of 2 octaves, so it's 1.1. Yeah, okay, you can't really totally read the screen, but 1.1 to 2.10, so 2nd octave, 10th semitone. So you get a nice wide range out of that, and there's no looping or repetition. So it's going to trigger that, and then just send that volt per octave to the Beehive. And then that goes out in the Typhoon, as we said. And then let's keep examining what's going on. So let's mute these, actually. So you can see, just like my note said, freezes on the second half, and the position slowly sweeps up. And so I'm doing that with Pam's on channel 7. I have a divide by 8, but the phase is 50% offset, so it goes high in the second half. And that's what triggers the freeze. So now it's high. And then channel 6 is a triangle wave. Similarly, divide by 4 in a triangle wave. But I'm doing that with 2 Euclidean steps and 1 trigger, and then it's shifted by 1. So because it's divide by 4 and 2 Euclidean steps, that will have it trigger on the second half, which I needed to do because it's a triangle wave with the width 100%. So that'll do a ramp up for the second half of the divide by 8 to match when the freeze is being held. So those 3 channels are handling the main melody. I don't know, it's not melody, but the 4 notes, and then the Typhoon or clouds with the freeze and the ramp as the original patch idea had. And when I found this when I found this patch, when I found that patch note, I was also having a big conversation about my rack in a different Discord server, and one of the ideas I had was to use the quad drum for chords, so that kind of was sitting in the back of my head. And then I had also been looking through the documentation of the Phaserville, um, looking at like the new applets that I hadn't used before, and I saw coordinate. So all these ideas kind of came together, and I thought I should try coordinate. So with the quad drum to do chords. So I had used the quad drum in wavetable mode on a drone day stream before, so I knew it could do that. Um, but I wasn't sure about chords, so I gave it a shot. And what I ended up doing is the way that's patched is on the the oh yeah, so the output from the prod melody that's driving the Platts beehive is being split and going down to coordinate into the input. Uh, and then for the there's so many stack cables here. For triggering it, it is channel 5, which um, I think is let's see. Okay, yeah, it's a Euclidean sequence with 4 steps and 1 trigger and 4 pads, and then shifted by 3, so that it will trigger on the last of the 4 quarter notes that this thing is playing. So it's right, 1, 2, 3 triggers now. Um, triggers now, right? So it triggers on the last of the 4 quarter notes, so that it can tell the coordinate to sample the pitch of the 4th note that is played here, because I wanted that to be the root of the chord that the quad drum brings in. So whatever the 4th note, the last of the 4 notes that is played in the Platts slash ring slash beehive is what is going to be the root of the chord. And then so coordinate is just what it does is it will give you 2 notes in a quantization, like in a scale mask, to kind of give you like basically be able to play chords. And so the first CV input is the root note that you want for the chord, or rather the note that you want in the chord, because you can set the root note separately. So I have that set to C, and then so like if I hand it an E, or like something like an E, it'll jigger it into position with the quantization. And then so the other value that's going in is at the same time that's triggered, I'm triggering a RAND channel on the Calculate applet, sorry. So that will, and so that's getting a random voltage, but it's too high because there's no scaling on that applet. So I send it up into 3x MIA to get attenuated, and then it comes back in. And that goes into the other CV input, which is, it says weight, but really that's the offset of the second pitch. Yeah, so that's going to get the 2 notes for the chord for us. So all 4 of these are on wavetable oscillators. There's some like LFOs moving the wavetables around and stuff, internal on the quad drum. But that A was for resonance period. But the top 2 are just droning on the root note. I don't actually know what key I'm in. I didn't tune, but it's just a root note when they're an octave apart, and then the bottom 2 are getting the pitches from coordinate. So those will shift around based on what coordinate, based on the last note of the 4-step sequence here, and then the random offset within the quantization scale. So that's doing the 4 notes, and then that's being sent out left and right into my only VCAs in the rack, which is this Bastel skis, not using the envelopes in here, just using the VCAs. And then that's sent into this mix-up, which is then the whole thing of this mix-up is sent into the FX aid, which is, of course, on the shimmer reverb. And then that's going to the vortices, and that goes out. And then for the envelope of this VCA, even though I have a Zadar, for some reason I'm using the 80 EG applet in the Ornament and Crime. And yeah, and so similarly, when that 4th note in the 4-note sequence gets triggered and it makes the chord and it generates a random value for the chord, it is also being split into this envelope generator on Ornament and Crime, and so that's going to swell the chord in and out. So if I re-enable that, I don't know if you can see when that lights up at the end there, but yeah, you can kind of see it. So that little trigger is doing like 5 things. Yeah, so this is kind of nice. This was kind of the beginning of the patch idea, and then from there I added in the bass, which is here. And that's just the mini synth dope for mini synth. It's got some pulse width modulation from this LFO. It's got some filter modulation from another LFO. And it is getting its pitch. It is droning. The gain is up. There's no envelope. But it is getting its pitch from another prop melody. So, let's see. That's channel 4. Another divide by 8. And with an 80% probability. So 80% of the time it'll send a trigger to this prop melody. And that's only an octave. And the only weights are on the root note and the 4th and the 6th in descending order. It's like 100% weight on the root note, 50% weight on the 4th, and like 10 or 20% weight on the 6th. And so that's gonna make it stay on the root note most of the time, but occasionally jump to the 4th, and even less occasionally jump to the 6th. And then to even less occasionally, the trigger that does that has an 80% probability. That is going through not directly to the mini synth, but through this gated VCA applet, which I'll talk about in a little bit what turns that off. But for now, we'll just say the voltage goes through, and yeah. It'll help if I turn it on. So it jumped up. Jumped again. Back down. I mean, that was like the perfect example of what I want it to do, right? You know, like kind of hover. Oh yeah. Yeah, feel those weights. Feel that root note weight. Yeah, I like that stuff. I like when a bass drones on the root note and occasionally jumps to other things, but not too often. That's great. Anyways, the other thing that's going on here is the last voice is the Siren by Who Knows, because they won't tell us. And that is in just single note mode. It's not playing a chord. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I've executed that idea like a million different ways before. But this one worked out pretty well. I am adding some features to the clock skipper applet on the Ornament and Crime to be able to set like a minimum skip and a maximum skip amount so that you can get more guided randomization, because sometimes you'll be like, I only want it to occasionally play another note, and it'll play like 5 other notes in the root note in a row. Because even if it's like 30% probability can still mean 5 notes in a row. But I want to be able to say, like, don't ever trigger more than twice in a row, you know? Or make sure you wait at least 2 clock signals, or at least 4 clock signals, right? Like if you're sending out quarter notes, like make sure you wait at least 4 quarter notes before even the possibility of randomly triggering again is possible. So basically, it'll like send the probability down to 0 for those 4 notes, and then again having a max skip where it's like, but if it goes 4 more to 8 and still hasn't triggered, then force a trigger, like shoot it up to 100%. So that's an idea. I was chatting with Nick Faserville about that, and he told me I should just go ahead and do it, so I did. And the reason I haven't tested it yet is because I've been wanting to document this patch, so that's why I'm doing this. Anyways, that was a tangent. Yeah, so that bass is going there. Oh, yeah, the last thing is the Siren. It's just playing a single note, and is droning. It's going out through pulse 0 and carbon because I don't have a stereo filter yet. I want to get the Ikari for this, and then just going into the mix-up, which then goes into the reverb. The LFOs that are built into this are affecting the filters, but it doesn't sound like they're doing different things. Otherwise, it would be different frequencies in each channel. Oh, I guess that's kind of different. I don't know. Maybe I should like... That might be better, actually. Should have streamed it that way. Oh well. So, yeah, that's just going through filters, and it's getting pitch from these 2 Zadar channels. So this one's just kind of got, like, you know, some fun shape to it. Goes up and down, up and down. And then this one is just a triangle, and these 2 are getting summed. They're going at different speeds, and they're getting summed in the quadrat with different amounts. Even though I'm setting the level on each of them, I'm still attenuating it even more, and then sending that sum into the quantizer. And this is just playing the 1, 3, 5, and 7 in the scale. So that's kind of just randomly dancing around. Yeah, so that's everything going on. There's some more sequencing. is that. Where did the plants go? What did I do? I would hope if this was running. There it is. So the only other channel to talk about before I get into the last thing is channel 3 is a probability of 20% going high, and I think this is also phase 50%. So just like this channel that's holding the freeze, occasionally at the same time, 20% of the time, I'll send this other channel high, and that's getting attenuated and going into the pitch of this, and that'll occasionally just send the pitch on the clouds. There you go. Up an octave. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. So that's doing more, but it's only 20%. I wanted that little, little tastiness. And then the last channel is kind of sequencing the whole transition, and it's a divide by 256. Can you all still hear me when the whole patch is playing? Just let me know. I'm going to keep talking. It's doing the divide by 256, and it is kind of phased in a way that it's towards the end. There it goes. So its phase is only 24%, and it's shifted to the end. So it goes high in like the last, quarter of the whole 256 quarter notes, which is however many bars, 64 bars or something. 128. What is it? I don't know. Right, so you can hear that the bass and the plats, the 4 notes go out during that part. So let me mute it so I can talk about what's going on for that. So when that gate goes high, it does so many things. It sends a high gate out, and it goes to the dry wet of the Typhoon, as well as to the reverb and the feedback. On reverb and feedback, I'm using the internal virtual attenuators to not have that go all the way at 100%, but wet does go all the way to 100%. Ambient school. Yeah, so that is just kind of like, I wanted like the Typhoon to like ring out, but when it was ringing out, it just started running away. So this was kind of like the best I could do. Yeah, so it's doing that. It's like, maxing out the Typhoon to kind of let the note from the beehive ring out. And then it's also doing a few things over here. So it is triggering channel A of the Zadar, which is the envelope that's doing that noise sweep. So I have some noise going into the Violina by Noise Engineering, just using the filter, not the distortion. And then this envelope is opening that up. Yeah, so that's like, you can see it, the sweep there. And then that's also triggering channel D, which has sustain on it, and that's going to do this exponential envelope, which is then going out into the MIA because it's going to get inverted. because it is also going to be turning the VC. It's going to the other VCF input because there's actually two of them on this mini synth, and so because it's inverted, it's going into the negative, and it's going to turn the frequency down. So that's what takes the bass out during this section. When this gate's high, triggers this envelope that goes high, but then it's inverted, so it goes to negative and it takes the bass out. And then also duplicating that envelope and sending it to the dry-wet input on the FX aid, which for some reason is in reverse. A positive voltage makes it more dry, and negative voltage makes it more wet. So that should make the shimmer reverb more wet on that noise wash and on the bass and on the chords, which are still coming through, and the little meandering sequence from the siren. Oh no, sorry, not the bass, because the filter went out on the bass. On the noise wash and the siren and the chords. And so the bass goes out. And the other thing that this gate, when it's high, is also going to this gated VCA. I told you I'd come back to this. So the bass notes are going through here, and I didn't want it to fade out the bass on anything but the root note. So what I did was I sent this volt per octave from the prob melody for the bass through this gated VCA. When the gate's high, it actually disables. It's a mute input. It's a mute gate on this gated VCA. So when it's high, it'll mute the VCA. So that will drop that volt per octave down to 0 so that it's forced back to the root note while the filter fades out, or the filter closes and the bass fades out. So that's how the bass fades out. And then the last thing was some clever cross mod on PAMs to have channel 8 do a cross op of not with channel 2, as well as I think channel 7 is also doing it, right? The one that freezes the Typhoon, so it won't freeze the Typhoon while that's out, because we wanted to let that ring out. And then we won't trigger those 4 notes from the beehive. So that's how the bass and the beehive get taken out. And I think that's everything. Let's go through. Talked about the sequences. Surprisingly not using crate for anything in this. Yeah, that's everything. So hopefully there was something cool that you saw that you'll go try on your rack. And I'm just going to let this play again for a little bit.